We are now ready to begin the next session. I request everyone to settle down. English August, 3 decades later, we have with us Upamanyu Chatterjee and Rahul Bose, none of whom need an introduction. Upamanyu Chatterjee was here yesterday as well, speaking about his newest novel, Lorenzo Searches for the Meaning of Life. And today he's here to talk about his debut novel, English August. And of course, we have Rahul Bose, described as the Indian art house icon by Time magazine. Rahul is a film actor and director, as well as a philanthropist, champion of rugby, who very famously portrayed the protagonist in the novel. Joining them on stage is eminent writer, translator, Arunava Sinha. I now hand over the reins of the session to him.
Thank you. Good evening. I don't know what exactly I'm doing here, because I think Upamanyu I just pretend to be younger than. You say it into the mic.
At this point, we're just watching tea being poured. It's quite ceremonious, so maybe this, if it finishes before the session, we'd be lucky.
Upamanyu Babu.
Why do you blow into the mic?
I don't know.
No, why? You just do this.
What?
This. It's working. It's working.
Okay. Anyway, Upamanyu Da I thought was uncalled for. Anyway.
Okay, Upamanyu it is for today, or Chatterjee, if you like. and Rahul, I'll call you. No, I've checked, you're younger than me. You can call me Arunava if you like. So, I don't really need to be here. They've already been bantering for the last 5 minutes, and they could probably go on for an hour.
Well, actually, we do meet once a decade.
And it's very hostile.
To discuss English August. But it's always a different, literary meets. The last was in Bombay, no?
Yeah.
Very witty it was. Okay, chalo.
Okay. So, English August, the book is 37 years old. Can you believe that? And
to me?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I can believe it. Yeah, one is getting older.
Yeah. And the film is from 1994, so that means 30 years, actually. So tell us about your first encounter with the book. In what form did it come to you?
That's to you.
Becky.
You mean the idea for the book? How did it come to
I'm
you?
asking the writer.
Why are you being difficult?
You can't keep passing
He's asking
everything.
the idea of the book. Tell him.
What do you mean?
How was it born?
The genesis, the germ. How did it start? The idea, the first inkling.
You think I have nothing else to think of? You're speaking of something that's 40 years ago.
You agreed to do this panel.
Yeah, okay. We should really ask Bose, because I did send, it's coming back to me, I did send a collection of short stories to an agent, a good friend of Amitabh's, who said, "Oh, nice stories, but if you're doing a book, would be nice. I'd like to see it." So I'm making all this up because I really have no recollection. That life is full of sort of funny things that happen. As the book makes clear. And then one thing led to another, and then you expanded the material.
Okay, you're not going to talk much about it.
Well, I've done it, isn't it? That's it. What else happened? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but by the way, just to warn everybody, we are going to have bad language on this panel. The book is full of it, and we can't get away from it.
I think Arunava is going to be abusing uncontrollably at the end of the session.
When a book sets as a leitmotif the line Hazard fucked in Madda, where does one go from there?
That's right. I did say yesterday that my English language teacher in college who said, "Why do you say Hazard fucked? It's Hazard fucked." So I said, "No, but I just heard Hazard fucked all the time." So.
Okay, now we know the genesis of that one. Okay, what are your thoughts about the book and the film now?
The film, this is my official sort of, the film is very nice, the book is just much better, that's all.
Rahul, what are you?
What else do you want me to say? Yeah. No, it's very nice. The film is very nice. He was very good. They were all very good, I think. I mean, I was apprehensive that they would get the district wrong, but he didn't. One must be grateful to the then Chief Secretary, I think, of Andhra Pradesh, the late Diljit Arora, who just said, okay, you just go where you want, and I'll tell them. So the rest, I didn't attend. The shooting. The rest, perhaps Rahul can, if you remember. Okay, he doesn't. Next question.
I remember it as if it was yesterday. I'm old but not dead. I remember it. I remember the first scene I did. I'm sweet 16. Yeah, that's Botox twice a day after meals. I remember meeting him when I was doing research for, remember this was my first film. I'd only ever done theatre before this. So I go to meet Upamanyu in Chatterjee Park, yeah? They threw you out a few years later, right?
What?
From Chatterjee Park.
Yeah,
in fact, from Delhi. In fact, from India. The whole thing. Anyway,
yeah,
so, and I go to meet him, and it's a wonderful book. So I'm looking forward to having an interesting talk. And all I get is what poor Arunava is getting today. Mumbles, some shambolic, monosyllabic answers. I'm like, what is this? What am I going to get from this man? But because Upamanyu is an extremely shy, but a very affectionate human being, you have to wait for the affection to slowly emerge. And in about 20 minutes...
Reclusive.
Reclusive. Okay, that's the authorial word. Reclusive. Rest of us are just shy. Then we began chatting. And then he began talking about his experiences in the service. And of course, laced with his wonderful dry wit. And then I began to, then we really began to chat. And once he begins chatting, he's actually quite unstoppable. And then gradually it becomes insufferable. But we drew the line at unstoppable that day. It was wonderful. It was wonderful because he said you should go and meet the people from St. Stephen's. There's a certain subculture there which you should get to know. And so, he put me in touch with a couple of people. And it was, it is that Upamanyu, I must tell you, that I held through the film. The chat with you, whatever I could read between the lines in terms of your experiences. And I missed you on the shoot because, or rather, I didn't miss you. I kept wanting to hear your voice because it's so distinct in the novel as well as in those 2 hours we spent together. It was just so much of material for an actor to work with, despite on the surface you're not saying much. But I was looking at you, watching you, and sort of getting cues for Ogu also, Agastya, from you, actually. And while I'm sure Ogu's not you, but there's a certain tone of voice that the boy speaks in that I felt I could hear that when you were speaking to me.
Wow. That's me blushing. Well, thank you for your kind words. Yeah. Do you want to add something and spoil this?
No, I thought you were just beginning and you were going to say more.
He did very well in my absence. If he was saying, I missed you during the shoot, but I couldn't get leave actually. Next question.
What did you tell him? What are the things you told him?
No, just that here was this sort of. I was just saying, look, this guy had just better do well. He looked younger. And he looked the role, lost probationer. And I said, well, the rest is up to,
So were you worried, nervous?
No. He was in good hands. No.
Okay, we'll watch a 2-minute clip. Really? Yes, can we run the clip, please?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but it's been withdrawn or something.
अगस्त्य
It's been withdrawn.
ये कैसा नाम है? इतनी उम्र हो गई ये नाम कभी नहीं सुना
He was a sadhu.
He gave Ram his first bow and arrow.
आईएएस? तुम आईएएस हो? लगते तो नहीं हो और ना ही बंगाली लगते। आए कहां से हो?
ভালোই হলো, এবার বুঝবে জীবনটা কি।
What a waste, August. I mean,
যাকে ভালোই হয়েছে, এবার বুঝবে কত দানে কত চাল।
what a waste.
What are you gonna do about sex out there, man? What about grass?
It took me 2 days to reach Madna. Pultu, my uncle, Neera and Dhruvo had come to see me off. For most of my journey I slept or stared at miles and miles of landscape. Familiar, yet unknown. Neera was off to Wisconsin for some Asian studies shit. Dhruvo pulled the right strings to get into Citibank. I gave the civil service exam and got Madna. Neera gave me her usual Marxist line about the bureaucracy. Dhruvo scoffed as well. Baba called from Calcutta to say, good, I'd get to know the country. But then he's an old world bureaucrat, a blend of Marcus Aurelius and the Reader's Digest. Takes life too seriously. Pultu Kaku, well, it was the first time he approved of what I was doing. 1 year in a dot, miles away from anywhere.
Thank you. We can stop it now. Thanks.
ये कैसा नाम?
I should say,
Yeah.
that's actually my actual father who plays Pultu Kaku, who says Koto Dhane Koto Chal
Wow.
in the train. Yeah. And the bizarre things about India, did you notice? The only subtitles you read were the ones when English was being spoken. When the people speaking Bengali, there was no subtitle. This was going to a Bengali audience all over the world. ইংরেজি জানে না ওদের সব সাবটাইটেল দেবে বাংলা যখন বলবে কিছুই বলবে না এই ব্ল্যাঙ্ক থাকবে ওখানে what how bizarre is that subtitling
of that one. Yeah, it's of movie, so I have no idea.
This is not part of the film. I should just add. You know, one never know. People
You're
might
right.
misconstrue.
So tell us about, if you are in the mood, tell us about the world you lived in and inhabited and observed in the years leading up to this novel.
Wow, it's like a bad trip, man. Look, you know, this is 1980. I wrote it in 89 is probably 88. It is anyway. I wrote it a long time ago. What do you want to know? You mean the years preceding?
Yeah.
Well, I was teaching in Delhi University at my esteemed college, and very nice. There was absolutely no work, but it was, what's it called? Ad hoc. Then I became temporary. Then I thought I could just sort of, float forever, till, he said, this is very boring, but the principal said, if you're sitting the UPSC, then you can't be made permanent. And then I was like, who's the man? Trishanku. So I either had to sit the exam or plead with him to be kind and make me permanent. So that was wise, I think. So I sat the exam. So I was already in about 3 minds before sitting the exam. Then the moment I got in, I actually went to the statesman, this is a true confession, and said, listen, actually I don't want to become a civil servant, may I join you as a sub-editor? Anand Sahai was then resident editor, statesman. He said, you must be nuts, you must be mad. So I said, okay, I got the point. I went and joined Masuri. Is this what you wanted to know? No.
It is, but more, there's more.
You mean why the book? I mean, it was
how
just
did you get to
scream. It
get
was
to the
just
book?
waiting to be written. In fact, if you ask me, I think it's about, the book's about, the out of placeness of English in India, I think. That's what the book is about. But everyone said, what a what a funny book about the bureaucracy. And if people are saying nice things, you don't want to argue and say, listen, that's not what the book is about. It's about English in India, and just shut up and just look at it this way and tell me nice things. That's silly. So you just keep quiet.
Okay, so it is about the English in India, and
Not the English.
I mean, your real bureaucracy book was the later one.
No, that's a laugh. I mean, that's, it has such funny lines.
Welfares of the memories of the
Memories.
welfare state.
It's just so good, I shouldn't be laughing at it.
No, laugh.
No, I mean, Hey Bhagwan, this Hindi film actress, I think I mean Nirupa Rai or Asha Parekh, who goes to a temple and says, Hey Bhagwan, main choti si aas leke aayi hoon, which is to say, oh God, I've come to you with a very small ass. I still laugh and I say, oh my God, and then I add, what an outrageous lie. So, but that's incomprehensible to someone who doesn't know Hindi. Well, you just can't, I couldn't not put it in. There are lots of those. Yeah, I was very happy with the memories, no one else was, it doesn't matter.
But in English, August, you said you put in the jokes to make it readable.
Yeah, of course, because, there's no girl, he just shags all day long. There's nothing.
I don't dare ask.
There's nothing. So
He just reduced me to being nothing, so that's fine. There's no girl, there's nothing. He just masturbates all day long, so there's nothing. So.
But, so I said, how the hell are people going to read this? So just add, it's a great sort of, just keep adding jokes to make people turn the page.
Yeah, I've actually compiled some of them.
Yeah, but that's the dirty trick that you did last time. He wrote down what? The first
Lines of...
paragraph of each book. Then he read them out and asked me to comment. Can you imagine? Crazy, yeah?
Today I'm going to ask you to comment on the jokes.
Okay.
So here's one. I don't know if you'll call it a joke, but anyway. He wasn't hungry, but he wanted milk to delude himself that he was careful of his health. Vasant, is there some milk? Milk? Asked Vasant, as though Agastya had just asked him for his wife's cunt. Vasant looked more insane with a green towel wrapped around his head, but he seemed in concert with Madna.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
You weren't scared writing this stuff?
No, why? You mean like, one of my brothers was horrified. He said, why did you put cunt? So I said,
It gets worse. It gets worse.
No, I mean, what do I say? I just said, I just put it.
Yeah, one more. It gets worse. Please, nobody take this personally. But I read in an article somewhere that some of the inmates of the Ranchi asylum are perfectly sane. They're just unwanted at home, and it's cheaper to keep them in the asylum. Then the widows at Varanasi, Ranchi asylum, asked Shankar, his face displaying the irritation that arises out of bewilderment. Ranchi in Bihar. Ah, Bihar, said Shiv, as though that explained everything, and turned to his brother and said, Bihar. He pushed his glass out for a refill. I also read that article. It said that one person in the asylum went mad out of jealousy because his brother used to sleep with his sister and they wouldn't allow him to sleep with them.
It's probably something I read, I think.
I can just sense this slow, prevailing discomfort coming over this audience. And Mala sitting there thinking, what is Arunava doing? Do not read from the book. Let's make this a wonderful, funny trip down memory lane. Do not read from the book. India has changed. Do not read from the book. Right?
But the book hasn't changed.
There's a growing sense. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you have to let sleeping dogs lie, Arunava. Please, let's just do the frothy stuff and leave. Which I'm very happy to do.
I was going to ask you if you would read a bit from the book. These are just snippets.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
One last line, no profanities, but it was very funny. I laughed at it for about 10 minutes when I read it. On the way out, he's leaving the collector's office. This is towards the end of the book. On the way out, on an impulse, Agastya stole his collector's car keys.
Might have. No, the funny one is with which really happened to me. So, you know, when that a cow flicks dung on him, I think it really happened to me. So I said, what a mess. You don't remember it. He hasn't read the book. Anyway, so
No, I
there's
remember
this
it.
bit.
I'm just trying to imagine it happening to you. That's
You
all.
did. You just walk out and there's a sort of very large animal. And, you know, I mean, they don't bathe very often. It's huge on my elbow. Anyway.
You didn't have to do any of this in the film.
Any of what?
Having a cow flick dung at...
I'm not even going there. India has changed.
Okay, other than your 20-minute talk with Upamanyu, what else was your preparation for this?
It wasn't 20 minutes. It was about a couple of hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, it was very, no offense. It
Other
was
than
very-
that, what else did you do for this?
Prep. I think I learned how to roll a joint without it being drugs. I used to, take out the tobacco and put it back in because I noticed a lot of people who either they smoke rollies or they smoke joints. They do it with one hand. So I was like, I should look dexterous, stuff like that. Otherwise, the handstand press-ups, Dave saw me do it one day. He said, why don't you do it in the film? I said, fine. I do remember one scene where, I had to pleasure myself. And so Dave said, I've made sure that all the women have left the set. And I just saw these 4 very sweaty light men and sound guys over me. I was like, that's hardly going to give me incentive, it should be the opposite, but that didn't happen. It was a very challenging shoot. Very challenging, because we shot at a time in India where if you were shooting in a village, there wasn't much, I stayed in what must have been the Taj of that village. And it was no air conditioning, obviously, 30 years ago. And on one side was what seemed to me to be the busiest petrol pump in the world. Because, trucks, buses, diesel fumes, urine, stench of urine, musical horns, all of that going on till about 3:30 in the morning. And on the other side of this esteemed property, location, was what seemed to me the busiest temple in the world, because the bells would start at 4. So I would have 29 minutes of silence between 3:31 and 3:59 to sleep in silence. And then one or the other would start. And both are valid, but not for an actor struggling to do his first film ever. And he carries the film. There's nothing, everything happens around him. So it was psychologically tough. It was physically tough. The weather didn't help. I don't know, anyone seen the film here? Okay, quite a few. So the first scene was the land record scene, where I think the actor's name is Gopal Krishna, I forget. Yeah. Wonderful face, white hair. In fact, he looked like a classical musician. And he's sitting there, these files all over, and the sweat was just pouring off. There wasn't any need to put water spray and things. And I remember his first line was, he smiles at me and goes, "It's very hot." No? And I was like, dude, you're absolutely right. It is freaking steaming out here. So yeah, it wasn't an easy film to do, but may I? Yeah. So the film took a year to get completed. And then we were selected for the Toronto International Film Festival. And even now, TIFF still remains one of the top 8-10 festivals in the world. In those days, there was Venice, Cannes, Berlin, and Toronto. Now, of course, there's Sundance and all the others. And the film, I had never seen the film. So I was sitting in with the audience in a theater called Famous Players. I think it was on Bay or Bloor. And I was watching myself for the first time in this movie. And I did not watch the film, I just watched myself. And I gave myself marks on 10 for every time I appeared and disappeared from the screen, because I was so paranoid about, my performance. And at the end of it, I figured I'd escaped with minor injuries. This was my assessment. And like happens at all festivals, program director was on stage, called Dave Benegal, the director of the film, on stage. And very kindly, Dave said, before I answer any questions, I'd like Rahul Bose to join me, who plays the lead role. And I came onto stage, and there were, I think it was a fairly large cinema hall, 400 people. And I didn't know them, they didn't know me, none of that. And I know how this is going to sound, but stay with me. I walked onto stage and everybody stood up. And the reason I'm saying this is because that was my first experience of my first film on its first day, any time in my entire existence, is why I'll never forget it, because I stood there and I said, this is what it's all about. If you manage to speak the truth through what he's written and what Dave has done, if you manage to do that, it's going to be okay. Life is going to be okay. And till today, that memory, some memories scar you and some memories exalt you. Till today, that memory is what keeps every moment of what I do alive, because I feel, wow, this is what it can be, And of course I owe it to him, and of course I owe it to Dave and everybody else on the film. But finally, it's your mukhra on that, your chehra on that screen, and it was traumatic watching it. But yeah, I think that's the magic. That's what you try and, not the magic of the applause, just the magic of the moment when you know it's there. That's what you try to keep doing all your life.
Yeah, I mean, it was so good that ever since then, reading English August is, I keep thinking of you at 27. That's Augusto Shen, I think, for many people once they'd seen the film. What was, yeah.
Although having said that, his first cover, was it Penguin?
Faber.
Faber. Was a bearded dude.
Yeah.
He was a bearded guy with an umbrella.
That's how he's described also.
And so when they cast me, a lot of people who had read the book were very offended.
Well, yeah, in the sense that the very first cover has the Faber idea of an Indian. So they put Javed Miandad. I don't know if it is Javed Miandad with a tie. So I said, listen, I wrote to him. There were no faxes. I wrote to him saying, you've put Javed Miandad, this Pakistani cricketer, on the cover, and the hero has a beard. And 6 months later, he said, oh yes, that's true. So then they put Suneet Tandon on the paperback, because Suneet had a beard those days. Then when I told Dave, he said, no, it's better for expressions and so on. So we are shaving the guy. So I said, of course, it's your film. And it's true, it's not easier to emote and so on if you're clean shaven.
But I just want to add, because he's not going to say any of this, and I wonder whether you'll ask the question about the collaboration between Dave and Upamanyu.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear something about that?
Yes, I was going to ask.
Yeah, of course. So, and I watched that happening, but not, of course, I'm sure you guys must have met 200 times. I only watched you guys do this 2 or 3 times. And it was almost telepathic. I think Dave was also born into the same milieu that you were writing about. He seemed to identify very, very closely with the deeper issues.
That's someone objecting to what you're saying.
The deeper issues of the film, like you said, it's actually about dislocation. It's a profound sense of, do I belong to this country? Am I Indian? Am I not? Right? All of that. And so when Dave and Upamanyu would collaborate or speak, you could just see, Upamanyu was very, very, most authors are very resigned for the director to do whatever the hell she or he wants to do with their work, because they know it's always going to be traumatic. But with Dave and Upamanyu, it wasn't that way.
Yeah, it is. In fact, it's true. I was in office, and those days, 2 millennials shared the same room and one telephone. And the phone rang. My colleague picked up. It's true. This one is true. He picked up and he said, "Aapke liye." I said, Kaun? He said, Shabana Azmi. It was Shabana Azmi. See, I mean, one of the advantages of being in Maharashtra is that, you're Bombay card, you know people. And so it was Shabana Azmi. Dev knows Shabana. Shabana must have told him, I know the guy. I'll phone him for you. So it was Shabana Azmi. Anyway, so that's how we met. He said, I'm going to Delhi. Can we meet? And then he said, yeah, let's do the film. So I said, yeah. It's like someone saying, you do want to, just do on a rocket or something. Like that. Sure. We did. Yeah, the vibes were very good. They still are. We don't meet that often. I was very clear. It's his film. It's like recreating a piece. So there are lots of chunks, where he said, we can't have this and we can't have that. Can we delete this? And then there are other chunks that are in the original screenplay that he must have deleted while making the film. Then he must have deleted some more while editing. But it's his film, and the end product is very nice. So,
Did you co-write the screenplay, Upamanyu?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we did. We even made some money on it. I mean, in the sense that Penguin published the screenplay.
Do you remember any of the things that were left out? Shooting things that didn't make it to the film?
There must have been, I think, for example, the brother, Shankar's brother is dying. That's not in the book, but it's a visual, so he's put that in. Then there is the funny bit, which is not. First of all, he said, he wanted to, but he changed the venue to Andhra because even the script is different and so on. And when you're learning Telugu, that's sort of funny, and that's true. That isn't in the book either, etc. There are many things, yeah.
But it's a serious book. I mean, you may be laughing about it, but you meant to write a serious book.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think funny books are very serious, so you know what I mean.
And what are your thoughts about that whole thing that you mentioned now? Someone who's born and brought up in a kind of English way, still living under that colonial hangover, and then gets to meet something called the real India, the rural India.
No, I didn't mean it that way at all. It's not like, it's not like you have to wear a tie and so on in typical sort of Calcutta club. No. It's the sort of pointlessness of having, studied English literature and L.H. Myers and all that's in the book. And then you sort of go and sort of meet the real world. And I didn't actually, let me put it this way. We go and get trained at the academy, right? And I just, very early I heard, there's the Bhumihar gang. It wouldn't even have registered, but they were all Singhs from Patna. You know what I mean? And then all that sort of grows on you. The thing that there is that other world that you just sort of, maybe if I'd gone to JNU, all this would have sort of sunk in sooner. But
You wrote a story before this. This is not your first published work.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you mean the killings? You mean the killings in Madna? No. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to, which you will not yield, of course, but I'm just trying to pull out of you like a tooth how and when and why you decided to write this novel. Okay, why you've told us, but how and when did it form in your head? When did it become a novel? How did you write? You were living in that world at the same time.
No. This is very much post.
Yeah.
Very much post. I had finished with the district. I had gone off to Pune. I had begun work. And then, why did I? Well, I just took off. I took off to write it. I just went home and 5 or 6, what's his name, met me on a motorcycle. And Ghosh said, this is the fastest book ever written, which is true. I did nothing else for about 4 months. It's possible to write a book in 4 months, I think. But this is getting a bit hazy, and I don't mean to say that that's because I'm hedging, but it really is
No,
a
fair.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Huh?
But okay, I've asked you this before, but I'll ask again. Augusta Shen versus Upamanyu Chatterjee.
But I didn't sort of masturbate that much. I mean, apart from that, the concerns are mine. The fact that, after having taught Conrad and so on, you end up dealing with land records. And yeah, I guess it is. It is something that I felt needed to be put down. This sense of the absurdity of English in India. Yeah, I still think it's absurd, but now it's too late. But yeah, I think it needed to be talked about. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to come back to Augusto, but Rahul, I know you acted, but Rahul Bose versus Augusto Shen?
At the time, there was a lot of similarity. Nothing like that today. I'm extremely happy to report that life took a brilliant 360 degrees, and today, whether I'm the president of the Rugby Federation of India, and we have 27 states, 322 districts playing rugby, and 90% of our players, no, 99% of our players are very poor from the hinterland, and we don't do a caste census, but I would reckon overwhelmingly tribal. And I travel, all the 2 NGOs that I started in 2007, working with kids from the Andamans, Kashmir, Manipur, and also working on child sexual abuse in the remotest districts of Maharashtra, all the way up to the posh schools of Bombay. I can confidently say I've traveled more than anybody in this room across this country. I've been to more places than anybody in this country, in this room has, for sure. So that's the extent of my, into inverted commas, discovery of India. It's over 200 places. And they, from the tiniest tribal village, 242 kilometers from Bhubaneswar, to, looking at shooting in urban Chandigarh or whatever it is. All my different, the 3 worlds I inhabit, the film world, the non-profit world, as well as my rugby, take me to places that nobody's been to. I mean, I've been to the Andaman Nicobar Islands 71 times. That's what I mean. I've been to Kashmir 45 times. I've been to Manipur 27 times. So it wasn't an empty boast. Do you know what I mean? It's that stuff that takes me there. Even to the extent that when I directed a film, my first film was The World I Knew 25 years ago, which was Everybody Says I'm Fine, set in a fancy South Bombay hairdressing salon, and all the types that walk into the salon, I knew. That was my world. And then 20 years later, I made a film called Purna. Has anyone seen Purna? Okay, so the story of the youngest girl in history to climb Mount Everest, a tribal girl who was tending her goat, and 9 months in her village in Pakala district in Telangana, at the time undivided Andhra Pradesh, and 9 months later, she becomes the youngest girl in history to climb Mount Everest at 13. How did this happen in 9 months? In a strange echo of English August, it's because there was a passionate, honest officer who used the system. There's a system for everything in this country. He used the system beautifully to make this happen. And the preoccupation of this human being who made Everybody Says I'm Fine in South Bombay, set in Breach Candy, to then going to Pakala and making a film that went from the 40 degrees centigrade of Pakala to the minus 20 of Everest, to chronicle this. And it's a much better film than Everybody Says I'm Fine, if not as flashy and attractive, much better film. That then tells you how far away I am from this book, from Agastya Sen, but not from the book. Especially when, what's his name? His best friend with an M. Mandy. Mandy's arms are cut off because he was, caught having an affair or trying to have an affair with a tribal lady or whatever it is. I mean, so all of that, the side that Agastya sees the tip off and then retreats from is the side that I've been seeing for many, many years now. And it's not an ugly or a dark side at all. It's just the side that he hasn't faced. And as a human being, that's where my heart lies. That's why.
By the way, no one plays rugby in India.
Sorry?
No one plays rugby.
322 districts, 40% of India plays rugby, no one knows. And not only that, it's about 120,000 players, 60,000 women, 60,000 men, and we are doing much better than any other team sport. And you watch in 8 years' time, we'll be the only sport after hockey, and of course cricket now, to make the Olympics.
Great.
Not because of me. No. Not because of me.
But auntie, you have to be so huge and things, don't you? Don't
Okay.
you?
Sorry, Mala is saying something.
Mala says now others must ask questions.
Oh, questions,
Yeah.
yes.
But don't you have to be huge?
Huh? Yes, you do, but I don't play for India anymore.
No, not you.
The others do.
Not you, all tribals and stuff. Don't they have to be like Maoris and things?
Well, you have them. Come, I'll take you to a game.
Yeah, make him play.
Please ask questions. Good luck with the answers.
Yeah. Yes, okay, the lady in the front row, whom I can see before anyone else. No, I forgot.
Hello, Rahul sir. Hello, Upamanyu sir. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, don't say so.
And just tell us who the question is for, otherwise it'll take half an hour.
It's for you.
Okay.
And see, you told you are into NGO, rugby, and films, of course. Which one is your most liking, and why don't you get to see you more on the screen nowadays? Just because of rugby?
I like all three equally. You don't see me on the screen because you don't watch other language films. I've done a film called Berlin in Hindi,
I
a
watched
very
it.
good film. Then a film called Amaran in a supporting role, not in the lead role, in Tamil. I've done a film called Bhairati Ranagal as the ace villain opposite Dr. Shivaraj Kumar in Kannada. And I've just released Binodini in a supporting role day before yesterday in Kolkata.
Amaran, I'll see you today at 8 p.m. in ZTV.
On ZTV, is it on Z?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't
today.
know that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm doing a film right now with Ayushmann Khurrana. Of course, he's playing the lead. It's a wonderful, wonderful script that should be ready hopefully by the end of the year. So, no, acting continues, but I will direct something at the end of this year.
Thank you. Yes, there are two people in the middle. Can we take both your questions and then we'll answer them one after the other?
Hi, okay. Yep, am I visible now? Okay, I wanted to ask Upamanyu, Mr. Chatterjee, that when you were writing the book, were you conscious about using a distinct voice and a language, or were there any influence from literature that you have, any favorites that influenced your writing and your prose?
Okay, thank you. Yes, and the gentleman then.
Rahul's touched upon this a little bit, but I'd like to get Upamanyu's thoughts on this. At a time when India's changed, at a time when we are in this process of making India great again to the exclusion of everything else, and anybody who says something, even hints at something to the contrary, is possibly asked to leave the country or at least be. So would a bureaucrat in this day and age be allowed to feel a stranger in his own country in the way August was? Or would a bureaucrat be allowed to feel as disoriented, possibly, as August was and see the pointlessness of it all? Would he be allowed to write a book like that?
Okay. Literary influences, if any?
No, I've it's just because the book is I think fairly easy to read doesn't mean that it was easy to write. All those jokes took a lot of time. You write a joke and it really reads like shit the next day, then you change it. All that takes time. So it's painstaking labor. I was conscious all the time that, even Hajar Fakt in Madna, I wrote it and I said, okay, should I just leave it here? Does it sound funny? Does it not sound, etc., etc. So all that is, as I said, the result of painstaking effort. And small town India has changed in the last 40 years completely. Now you have your mobile phone. Every civil servant has a mobile phone. You're no longer in the middle of nowhere. Your Instagram and all that stuff follows you. So if English August had to be rewritten today, it would be a completely different book. Those days, if you wanted to escape, you just got into your Jeep and sort of splat. No one would know where you were for 3 hours because at least in Chandrapur and even in Khed, the phones didn't even have, you couldn't even dial. There was just a wire and you picked up and there was an operator. So even when you had to speak to Ratnagiri, the operator said, Collector Sahib and so on. So that even speaking to the collector took about 15 minutes. So once you were out in your Jeep, it's just freedom. And then when you reached your destination, hopefully the Jeep would have broken down. So by the time, it was just 4 hours later. And then the Tehsildar would say that, Collector Sahab ne phone kiya. Then from there, you go through that same rigmarole. So it's wonderful. It was wonderful those days. So anyway, that world has changed completely. So if one had to write the book in 2025, it would be hopefully a funny book, but a completely different book. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, but before the next question, Augusto Shen is coming back.
Well, if I don't copy it, I mean, it's certainly the intention, but not the next one, but.
He's there. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
It's freezing in here, isn't it? Or is that just bloody winter? Yeah?
It's the air conditioning.
This question is for Rahul Bhai. You said that rugby has now spread to so many states. Okay, so I want to ask you, what got you into the sport of rugby?
Should we take that offline? It's not to do with the session.
No,
I'm happy to answer it.
Yeah, quick one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Answer.
I got into rugby for all the wrong reasons at the age of 14. Here was a sport after playing cricket that legitimately allowed you to get dirty. That was great for a 14-year-old. Here was a sport where you could legitimately get aggressive and physical on the field. Another completely wrong reason to get into the sport, but for a 14-year-old, very attractive. And I don't know about how it is nowadays, but the girls in our school loved blood. So every time I broke my nose or I cut my face, the most beautiful girls in school would turn up to hospital. I was like, they don't talk to me outside of in the classroom, but here, whenever I'm bleeding, they all come flocking. So 3 great reasons for a 14-year-old to start playing. And then, of course, I discovered very quickly I discovered the poetry, the poetry of life, the rhythm of life in that game, that courses through that game, more than any other game that I've watched and loved. That really, this game really has for me, it's a microcosm of everything that life should have.
Thank you. Yes, over there.
Just wait a minute.
We have somebody wildly gesticulating from the...
Meaning time's up. Rugby is the one where you don't...
there is time.
Rugby is the one where you don't let go of the ball, right? You run with it. I'm sorry. I just want to be clear.
Have you gone mad?
No.
If you don't let go of the ball, how the hell are you going to score? What are you going to do?
Run and then you sort of fall over the edge.
Yes, but surely you have to keep, you can kick the ball, pass the ball, the ball goes on the ground, tackle.
Sounds a lot like the IS.
No, he just pretends to be Kabla. He pretends to be stupid. He's not. This is this whole self-effacing, stuttering, I'm a little bit stupid. You're one of the brightest people on the planet.
Rugby is the one where those guys do this retarded thing.
Your wife is French. She should not hear you say this.
And then okay, I get it. Now I know the one you mean. No one plays it in India. I've got it.
That's the one.
Okay, my question is for Rahul. So I wanted to know, when this role was offered to you, right? So how easy was for you to, identify the character as Augusto Shen? And since it was your first movie, right? So was Dave satisfied with your performance in first go, or it was a difficult task?
First answer to your first question was very easy, and answer to your second question you'll have to ask him.
Okay.
No, you've been with him for a while. Yes, he was very happy. Yeah? He was very happy. In fact, that
Davis never told me whether he's been happy or unhappy.
I can vouch for that. No, he told me it's a great job.
Was there many cuts or, in one go you were able to give the shots?
That's the third question. No, it was fine. I mean, in that respect, it was fine. It went well, but what he actually made of the actual performance, you'll have to ask him.
Thank you.
Okay, more questions?
In the interest of gender, women? No?
Seriously?
A third gender?
No questions? Yes, okay. No, we'll give others a chance first, if they want
There's a hand
yes.
right at the back on the horizon.
Wow, Rahul, well done.
This is a question for Mr. Chatterjee. You were Director General of Civil Aviation during one of the darkest periods of civil aviation in the country.
I wasn't.
Okay, but you
He's saying he
weren't-
wasn't. Are you taking the piss? Are you serious?
I really wasn't.
Because his whole question is predicated on that. He's taken a deep breath, and now you suddenly said I wasn't.
Okay, fire away, but I wasn't.
What the hell?
But you were you were handling civil aviation at
This is news to me.
but
What's the question anyhow?
No, but how can he ask the question? It's based on civil aviation.
Anything Upamanyu in
It's
will
not
not
part
be
of civil
said.
aviation. Are you what? Sanitation? Drainage?
No. What I mean,
Education,
what I mean
railways.
is, during your tenure in the union government, the civil aviation sector was going through a dark period where Air India was shutting down and was opening up for auction, and there were a lot of elements in the rigmarole of events that actually reminded us of. Less than English August, the memories of welfare state to a great extent. So when you look at that entire episode in that sector, how much do you think what you wrote actually transpired in the civil aviation ministry then?
For the third time, I really have never worked in civil aviation. I have no idea. But, but the memories is it happens all over it's the government, yeah. It can. I must say though, no one, I mean, I don't know if someone's going to ask me this, no one, no nasty, what the hell have you been up to, let us throw the rule book at you, nothing of that sort. So, therefore, I mean, even for the memories, they could have said, why are you making fun of, the way ministries work and so on, but nothing of that kind.
Did anyone read the books?
Good question, because that's a very good question. Because where was I? I was in office. And some offices have the news on TV in front of you. You can't switch it off or something. I mean, the remote, there's no battery and so on. It's just, sorry, there's no, you can't switch off the thing. And it was in Bombay and this Marathi news, and I said, that is the memories of the welfare state in Hindi, in Devanagari. What the hell's going on? The Sahitya Akademi gave it an award, and I said, oh my God. But it was quite sort of funny seeing it in Marathi at the bottom in the, what's it called? Sticker, that thing that runs. Yeah, anyway, so TV has its uses. No, I say, I'm sorry to have disappointed you, but I was never in civil aviation. And, Air India is now privatized, so.
That's one theory dying. Yes, okay, over there at the back.
I just want to ask both Rahul Bose and Upamanyu Chatterjee, for both of you, that was the film and the book, they complemented each other, or it was just the fun spoiler of each other?
The fun spoiler?
Means, I mean that, I remember I saw the film first, and then I read the book later. So that's what I'm asking, that in many cases when a novel becomes a movie, and so whether it's the literature that, that represented in the film, was it a kind of a fun spoiler for the book or the film, or it's just kind of complemented each other?
Well, as I said, it was already, it felt very nice that a filmmaker wanted to film the book. And, once we wrote
No, I think what he's missing, and I'm sure it's not advertent, is that he wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
So he's party to the movie. It's not that it's something alien that happened while he was fast asleep.
Yeah, and then we wrote the screenplay, and then he did say, come and watch the shooting, and I mean, as I said, I couldn't get away. So, and the final product, which we saw for some reason in Paris, at this, well, it was half financed by Canal Plus, I think. So, yeah, so it wasn't the final version because after that there were cuts. Anyway, no fun spoiler at all, no.
Okay. Do we have time for more questions? No one's answering. We can go on all night.
Yeah, there's a question in a gentleman in a white shirt.
Okay, yeah.
On my left.
Yes, go on.
That's okay.
Now
Last
you
question.
say last question. Okay. There's not a white shirt.
What shirt is that?
Blue?
The shirt is blue.
Oh, shirt is white.
The shirt is
The
white.
shirt is white. The jacket is blue.
Am I losing my mind today? Or
No, you're right. The jacket.
can't throw the ball in rugby. The shirt is blue. What's going on?
My question is to Rahul, sir. My question is that you want to popularize rugby. So how do you, what are your intentions? How do you popularize rugby the way you want to?
It's a long answer, not here. There's a long answer which I've given in different fora outside of this.
Because I feel
I can't answer it here, but there is a long answer which has got 10 points to it, which I'm very happy to put out into the public domain. The only reason I don't speak so much about the sport, despite being the president of the federation, is because too many people speak and too few people do. I always like to speak less than we do. So once we do, we'll speak. Till then, it's fine. I mean, you'll see, in the next 6 months, the earth will move as far as the sport is concerned. What's the point of talking about it right now? It'll happen. Relax.
Okay,
But thank you.
Last question. There was someone at the back. Oh, they've run away. Oh, yes, go on. Go on, please, or just shout. I hope it's not about rugby.
No, it should be about the movie. Let's keep it about the movie.
No, my
Or the
question is
book,
to
sorry.
Upamanyu, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So, in your novel, you wrote about the place called Madna. So, is it based on some actual place in the country? Because it sounded very specific while reading.
I did train in a place called senility. Chanda then later became Chandrapur. But, as I said, I wrote this some months after training was over. So, you sort of exchange letters and so on from, that the Gandhi statue, which was propped up by this rod, was apparently in some village in Assam, because this friend of mine wrote to me, so he won't believe this wretched statue in front of my office and so on. So the rest of it is an amalgam of all the funny situations that I heard of through letters, etc. And some of it is definitely, a large chunk of it is definitely my own experience. But I suppose if you were to visit Chandrapur in 1983, you would recognize quite a few places, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Rahul, any last words?
Like I'm going to die after this something. Any last words? This is it. No, I think, well, certainly in terms of cinema, this was the first of the short-lived sunburst of English films. Started in 1995, and then I think maybe Everybody Says I'm Fine might have been the last English film that was released in India, which was in 2001, 5-6 years, but it still remains, English August, barring English language or not, still remains. A lot of people, anybody who's ever seen it, will always say that this is one of the finest pieces of cinema that they've seen. So I think just to have been part of that, I feel incredibly lucky. I have nothing but gratitude for the stars aligning in my favor. And it all started with this man and his wicked brain somewhere in Chandrapur. So for that, again, I have enormous gratitude and affection, as you know, for you, Upamanyu. Thank you.
Makhan, okay, but this is already sort of gratifying to hear. Thank you for your... thank you too.
Yeah, I sat through the whole thing. Thank you, Upamanyu. Thank you so much, Rahul. Thank you, everybody. Good night.